I'm Doug Ballinger, Logan's dad, and this is Logan's Voice. This podcast was born from the worst day of my life, the day my son Logan died from fentanyl poisoning. And every episode I record, every word I speak is my way of keeping his voice alive and using it to fight back against the crisis that took him from me. Today's topic is urgent and it's personal, not just for me, but for every family in Arkansas. Arkansas is currently the number one state in the country for opioid prescriptions per capita. Let that sink in. Arkansas is currently the number one state in the country for opioid prescriptions per capita. And we're not just part of the problem, we're leading it. Doctors are handing out opioids at alarming rates, and many of them are doing it without any conversation about the risk, the potential for addiction, or what happens if you or your child or your aging parent accidentally take too much. Here's the hard truth. If a doctor gives you an opioid and doesn't also prescribe you Naloxone or Narcan, they're gambling with your life. And you have every right to call that out. This isn't alarmism, this is reality. I've met far too many families, just like mine, who were blindsided by a prescription that started out as routine and ended in tragedy. We have to talk about this. We have to demand better. And we have to stop pretending this is just about addiction. It's about medical negligence, outdated systems, and silence where there should be warning labels. So in this episode, we're going to break it all down. Why Arkansas is topping this deadly list, what you should expect and demand from your doctor, safer, science-backed alternatives for managing pain, and why carrying naloxone is no longer optional. It's essential. We'll also talk about Logan, about the life he lived, the pain he carried, and the system that failed to protect him, and so many others. Because if I can stop just one person from walking the road I've had to walk, then his story still has purpose. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the elephant in the exam room. Arkansas currently prescribes more opioids per person than any other state in America. That's not a statistic. It's a reflection of how deeply rooted this crisis is in our healthcare system right here at home. How does that happen? It starts in a doctor's office. You go in for pain, maybe from a surgery, an injury, or even just dental work. And instead of being offered a range of safe alternative treatments, you're handed a prescription for hydrocodone or oxycodone. No conversation, no warning, no Narcan. Just a bottle of pills and the unspoken assumption that you'll be fine. But here's what you're not told. Opioids change your brain chemistry in as little as 3 to 5 days. You don't have to abuse them to become dependent. Even when taken exactly as prescribed, opioids can lead to addiction, and every single dose carries the risk of overdose. And still, too many doctors are writing these prescriptions like they're giving out ibuprofen. Let me be crystal clear. This isn't just about over-prescribing, it's about under-informing. Because when someone's given an opioid without also being given naloxone, Narcan, the life-saving overdose reversal drug, that's a failure in medical responsibility. Imagine a doctor prescribing insulin and not telling a diabetic how to use it, or handing someone blood thinners and forgetting to warn them about internal bleeding. That would be malpractice, right? Well, it should be no different with opioids. Because when you're given a powerful, addictive medication, and not told what to do if it stops your breathing, you're being set up for disaster. And the fallout is real. Thousands of Arkansans have died because they were given a pill without a plan, because they trusted their doctor and didn't know they were being walked to the edge of a cliff. Now, here's something else you should know. You have the right to report a doctor who fails to follow best practices. If you or someone you love was prescribed opioids and not offered Narcan, you can file a complaint. You should, because the next person in that office may not get another chance. We cannot afford to keep this quiet. Too many lives are on the line. Too many families, like mine, have already buried their children. And this isn't just a system issue, it's a cultural one. We've been conditioned to trust the prescription pad without question. But we have to start asking better questions. We have to take our power back, because your life or your child's life is worth more than a quick fix for pain. What should you do? And how do you protect yourself and your family? Let's say you're sitting in a doctor's office. You've got real pain, maybe from surgery, a sports injury, or a chronic condition, and the doctor hands you a prescription for an opioid. It might feel routine. It might even feel like the right thing. But before you walk out that door and fill that script, I want you to stop and ask some questions, because your life could depend on it. Ask the doctor, do I really need an opioid for this pain? Is this the only option, or are there non-opioid treatments that could work just as well? What are the risks of taking this medication? How long should I take it? What side effects should I watch for? What's the plan to stop using it safely? Will there be a tapering strategy, or are you expected to just figure it out later? And where's my Narcan? This is non-negotiable. If you are prescribed an opioid, you should be prescribed Naloxone too. If they don't offer it, ask for it. If they refuse, report it. And this is why Narcan matters. Narcan is an opioid reversal medication. It can literally bring someone back from the brink of death within minutes. It's safe, it's easy to use, and it's available in most pharmacies without a prescription. If you're prescribed opioids, even short term, you must keep Narcan in your home, your purse, your car, wherever. Because here's the truth. Most overdoses happen at home, and most are witnessed. Having Narcan on hand could mean the difference between life and death for you or someone you love. Let's stop treating it like it's only for junkies. That's stigma talking, and stigma kills. Narcan is for patients. It's for families. It's for teenagers who raid the medicine cabinet. It's for elderly people who forget they've already taken a dose. It's for all of us. And what do you do if the doctor doesn't listen? If your doctor doesn't take the time to discuss alternatives, refuses to prescribe naloxone, or makes you feel ashamed for asking questions, that is a red flag. You have the right to request a second opinion, decline the prescription, and report the provider to the Arkansas State Medical Board or the Department of Health. Your voice matters. You don't have to be a doctor to advocate for your own safety. If someone in your family has a new opioid prescription, talk to them. Don't assume they know the risk. Sit down and say, I love you, and I just want to make sure you know what this drug can do if it's not used exactly right. Let's get some Narcan, just in case. That conversation might feel awkward, but you'd rather be uncomfortable now than grieving for the rest of your life. We can't undo the damage already done by overprescribing in Arkansas, but we can take control of what happens next. We can ask better questions, we can demand better care, and we can make sure that no prescription is a death sentence. I want you to listen very closely to this part. There are alternatives, real pain management without the risk. One of the biggest myths fueling the opioid epidemic is this idea that opioids are the only way to treat pain effectively. That's just not true. There are evidence based, non addictive, and often more effective treatments available, but they don't get promoted the same way because, frankly, they're not as profitable. And because our medical system is still catching up to what real long term pain care should look like. Let's be clear, pain is real, whether it's from surgery, a chronic illness, an injury, or even emotional trauma. It deserves to be treated. But opioids should be the last resort, not the first line of defense. And that's where organizations like CWC Alliance at cwc.ngo come in. They're leading the way in integrative pain care, offering real tools that help people get better without risking addiction or overdose. Here are just a few of the pain management strategies they support. Neuromuscular therapy and targeted physical therapy helps retrain muscles, reduce inflammation, and treat the root of physical pain rather than just masking it. And then cognitive behavioral therapy. Pain and trauma are deeply connected. CBT helps people understand how thoughts and emotions impact pain and gives them the tools to change that cycle. Biofeedback and mindfulness-based stress reduction. Techniques that train the body to self-regulate, lower stress hormones, and promote healing. Diet, inflammation management, and sleep hygiene. Chronic pain is often worsened by poor sleep, diet, and untreated stress. Whole body care matters. Non-opioid medications and holistic supplements. There are safe pharmaceutical options that don't carry the same risk as opioids, but they often require a doctor who's educated and open-minded. So what's standing in the way? Sadly, many doctors don't offer these alternatives, not because they don't work, but because they take more time, more effort, and more collaboration. It's easier and faster to write a script than to design a whole care plan. And insurance companies, they'll often approve a 30-day supply of opioids without question, but make patients jump through hoops to access physical therapy or behavioral treatments. It's backwards, and it's costing lives. As for Logan, he never had access to real alternatives. His exposure to prescription stimulants as a child, followed by painkillers and street drugs as a teen, created a pattern of reaching for substances to numb pain, physical, emotional, and spiritual. By the time fentanyl entered the picture, it was too late. That's why this conversation matters so much to me, because there are kids, parents, workers, and veterans out there right now who are being handed a bottle of pills when all they really need is a plan, a path, a provider who sees them as a whole human being, not a symptom to silence. If you or someone you love is living with pain, don't settle for opioids as your only option. Visit cwc.ngo and explore what real pain recovery can look like. There's hope beyond the prescription pad. Logan deserved better, and so does your family. I want to take this moment to bring it back to why I started Logan's Voice in the first place. My son Logan wasn't a statistic. He was my son, a grandson, a friend, a nephew, a bright spirit who loved music, motorcycles, good food, and his family. He laughed hard, he felt deeply, and he was loved beyond measure. But like so many others, Logan was failed by a system that treated his pain with pills, not plans. From the moment he was diagnosed with ADHD and handed a prescription for stimulants, a message started forming. There's a pill for what you feel. Later in life, that message turned into self medication, street drugs, and eventually fentanyl. But let me be clear, Logan didn't set out to die. He wanted to get better. He tried. He talked about recovery. He made plans. But addiction doesn't care about your intentions, and fentanyl doesn't give second chances. And maybe, just maybe, if someone had stopped along the way and said, let's talk about why you're in pain. Let's try something safer. Let's make sure you have Narcan. Let's fight for your future instead of masking your symptoms. Maybe he'd still be here. That's why I speak out. That's why I record these episodes. That's why I tell his story again and again, because I want Logan's voice to echo through every exam room, every pharmacy, every household that's told this pill will fix it. Because sometimes it doesn't. And if I can use my pain to prevent another parent from standing in a funeral home choosing a casket instead of a college, or reading a toxicology report instead of a birthday card, then Logan's story still has purpose. So if you're listening to this, whether you're in pain or you love someone who is, please remember, you deserve care that looks at the whole picture. You deserve options. You deserve a doctor who sees your life, not just your diagnosis and treating symptoms. Logan deserved that, and so do you. If you've listened this far, you already know this isn't just about Arkansas. It's about everywhere. It's about every exam room where opioids are handed out like candy and questions are not welcome. It's about every family who trusts a system that's failing to protect them. We've been trained as a society to rely on the expertise of doctors. You have to question and participate in your own pain, in your own medication regimen, in your own recovery plan. But especially here in Arkansas, where we're leading the nation in opioid prescriptions, we have to ask, how many more lives are we willing to lose before we admit this approach is broken? We have to stop prescribing people to death. We have to speak up when our doctors don't give us all the facts. We have to demand that every opioid prescription be paired with naloxone. And we have to support real, accessible alternatives for managing pain that don't carry a risk of addiction or overdose. Let me say this clearly, without an apology. If your doctor prescribes you an opioid and doesn't offer you naloxone, report them. That's not fear-mongering, that's harm reduction, that's survival, and that's accountability. And if you're living with pain right now, or love someone who is, know this, there is help beyond pills. There are providers who care and programs that heal out there. Don't settle for silence and sedation. You deserve real care. So here's your call to action. Turn your awareness into action. Speak up, ask questions at your next appointment. Start conversations. Talk to your friends, family, and community about what you've learned. Hold your doctor accountable. Request Narcan, demand safer options, and report negligence. Educate yourself. Stay informed about what opioids are and what they're not. Protect your household. Keep Narcan in your home. It could save a life. And if Logan's story moved you, if his voice matters to you like it matters to me, then help me keep it going. Visit logansvoice.com. There you'll find Logan's story, the book, A Father's Truth, A Son's Life, A Crisis Exposed. Logan's swag shop is there. wear the message, wear it proudly, start a conversation, make a difference. And every episode of this podcast is linked on that website. Share them, replay them, let them be a voice in the silence. Because awareness without action changes nothing. Together we can save lives. Together we can stop this crisis at the root. Together we can make sure no more families go through what mine has. This is Logan's Voice, and I'm Doug Ballinger, Logan's dad. Thank you for listening. Now let's do something with what we know. I am Logan's voice. I am Logan's dad, and I will not be silent.